Dun, dun.
Drew, how we doing?
Oh, what's up?
Good.
What's the story?
Good.
Got the out-
Do I have to
Yeah.
admit anybody, or can I just pass it over to you now?
No, yeah, I look after that. Are you recording this, by the way?
Yeah, I have it on
Yeah,
automatic record. Can you see that there? Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, if there's the waiting room being set up, has there? I have it here. There's a girl Fiona in already, so
I can make you host there if you want, Drew, and then you can just kick it back to me whenever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will. Yeah, there's a good few come in. I'll have to admit them all. So admit I am the host now. Who we got? There's a good few coming in. iPhone Jen Cameron is in.
I thought I set it up that you didn't have to click them to get in, but obviously.
Okay, well, no, maybe the area. There's about 5 in there already. She's only 2 minutes late. How's things with you? Good.
All right. Oh, I can't complain. You?
Yeah, I can't. Well, I can't complain, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. It's funny because I talk to people all the time, and I was talking to a client last night that I haven't seen in a couple of months, and I would train her on a regular basis, maybe 4 times a week. And she's that little bit older, so she's like, "Oh, I'm not in the same financial stress as other people may be, but this is like my last few years to really enjoy myself before I get that bit old and I can't be traveling and doing all this stuff." So it's affecting people in different ways, you know.
It is, yeah. It's you know, and like speaking to people like clients and friends and family and stuff, and it's becoming now like it's just becoming a major hassle for people now, and people are getting edgy, antsy, pissed off, you know, all of the above, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to stay as productive as I can. I'm getting loads done, but the fact is, this third one, I don't know if it was the first two, I didn't focus on it too much, but we work for ourselves, Drew. So when you work for yourself, you're not really restricted. You don't answer to anybody. You can get up and go. Now you have all these restrictions. You can't do what you need to do. You can't grow your business. You can't travel. You can't do stuff with the kids. You can't do. It's just it's frustrating now.
It's a kind of it's more of an inconvenience now, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is for sure.
Okay, most of these are coming in. The majority of them have their cameras off. They're probably lying up for bed watching it. There's a good few in there. You just give it another few minutes. I've actually got more questions than I thought I would. Good few of our clients have sent in questions on the specific topic, so there's quite a good few, as you probably expect, on digestion, food intolerances, and stuff like that. And a good few on IBS. Put them in there. A good bit on a few of them suffer about IBS, hormonal dysfunction, thyroid, sleep, energy. So, you know, I think probably the best thing is just to kind of, do you want me just to rattle off the questions to you and kind of take it from there?
Yeah, let's do that then. And then if guys, you can just say to the group if they have a question or they want to ask. They don't have to turn their camera on. I appreciate that it's late at night, they're at home, they want to chill out and just listen. But if they do have a question, you can just unmute them and they can ask something if they want. Yeah, so I'm good to go, Drew. You
cool. I'll crack. Yeah, okay. Just wait for a few. Let's make sure. Hang on. There's one or two of them just sending me a message here looking for the link, of course. Okay, there it is. Right, we get cracking. The rest can join in. I can see who's. I don't think there's anyone. I don't think they have to wait for the meeting or to be admitted. They're all in so far. We got Fiona, Jen. Welcome, guys. Right, guys, I'm going to kick this off. Right, so as I said, we'll get started. So obviously, I've organised for Owen to come in to the group and to give you all a talk on kind of female health, which obviously is a broad area, but we've kind of broken it down. And I've asked you all the questions to ask in any questions, and you have. So as I said, we've put the topics of discussion, digestion, hormonal dysfunction, low energy, resistant fat loss. So we'll get cracking. So Owen, I just want to give you just again a very, very short to introduce yourself just to the rest of the crowd.
Okay, all right. So my name is Owen Lacey. I work as A performance consultant, which is someone that helps people with nutrition, training, lab testing to perform better, whether that's to improve fertility, whether that improve your skin health, your digestion, alopecia. It could be someone looking to run faster, put on weight, or lose weight. So I do a little bit of everything, but I assist trainers like Drew and help people just look at things maybe from a different point of view than they haven't seen before, and show them little small interventions, sometimes big interventions, but powerful interventions to help them, because sometimes it's not about training more and eating less, and that works for a lot of people, but for, unfortunately, particularly for females, it can be detrimental to hormonal health, detrimental to mental health, and cause a big roadblock and a lot of frustration for females.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, obviously a big thing what we will practice, and I practice that, the fundamentals are trying to eat better and to exercise. And primarily, if this is for fat loss, that is not always the answer, but 80% or like a certain percentage, it is the answer. But looking a little bit deeper, so looking at a lot more issues that you girls might have, which is digestion, sleep, energy, hormones. So if you've got the exercise right and if you've got the food right, then there's a lot more to it than just focus on that. So we'll crack on with the first kind of topic. So the first topic is kind of digestion. And a lot of people suffer with poor digestion, bloating, not going to the bathroom every day, which is probably the biggest thing. Actually, we'll kick off with that one. Quite a good few of my clients and previous clients do not go to the bathroom every day. So just give us a brief idea of, if someone is only going to the bathroom twice a week or 3 days a week, why is that happening, and can they do anything to improve it?
Okay, so if someone isn't going to the bathroom at least daily, or they're going to the bathroom once or twice a week, and I used to make a joke about this. Clients used to say I go regularly every Wednesday, and that's not okay. There's a lot of issues that can cause, but fundamentally you need to address what's causing the issue in the first place. So number one, we call it the lowest hanging fruit. First things first, you need to be consuming enough water. If you're dehydrated, your bowel movements will slow down and you won't be going on a regular basis. Next thing that we look at is fiber intake. So fiber can draw water into the colon and move things along. So sometimes it can be down to fiber. However, a lot of times when I talk to females, that's not necessarily the issue. Next thing that we need to look at is we have a certain part of our nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system. The name's not that important, but it's a different, if you want to call it, electrical system. So let's say, for example, you're out somewhere, you're on an airplane, or you're in school, or you're in college, or you're in work, and you get that sensation to go to the bathroom. We've all had that before. Sometimes if you constantly are in a situation where you feel uncomfortable to go to the bathroom, and you sort of stop that signal, you tell that message that you're getting from your digestive system, oh, you need to go to the bathroom. If you're suppressing that, you can actually get a bad relationship with that nervous system, and thereby actually alter it, and then not have the sensation to go until you really get bunged up, and that can cause issues in itself. So number one, we look at hydration. Number two, we look at the fiber intake, or the fibrous foods that you're eating. Next thing we find out, is it a psychological thing? Have you had this issue for a long time? Do you find that you have to go to the bathroom before you go out, or you're going to a restaurant or somewhere you haven't been before? Would you feel uncomfortable to go outside? Next thing is thyroid. When your thyroid slows down, one of the biggest indicators of early warning signs of thyroid dysfunction is irregular menstrual cycles, and also constipation and or diarrhea. So you're going from one to the other one. So for me, these are things that I would address with a female when they come in. Now, just on that note, if a female is not going to the bathroom on a regular basis, her ability to burn fat is compromised. Let me say that again. If you're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis, your engines inside your body are not efficient at burning fat. And the reason being is, one, it suppresses your immune system. If you can imagine your gut, like, it's probably a good analogy now. Imagine your gut is like the passport control or the customs when you come into the airport. What the customs do is they stop people coming in that shouldn't be coming in. Oh, well, they should, not in this situation. However, what the passport police do is stop people coming in that shouldn't come in. Our gut is the difference of food being inside our gut and inside our body. Technically, when food is inside your gut, it isn't in you yet until we absorb it. And we absorb it through the walls of our gut. Now, I'm sure, Drew, a lot of your female clients have heard of leaky gut.
Yeah.
And leaky gut is what we call increased gut permeability. It's where people are seeping into our body that shouldn't be. It's people getting past the airport police or past the passport control that shouldn't be. And that can cause an immune response. So all the guys have probably heard that 70% of our immune system is around our gut. And that makes perfect sense to me, because if you wanted to have the best police force, where would you put them? You'd put them at the borders. You'd put them at the points where food, pathogens, bacteria can come into our body, and then we can address it and organize it. However, if you've got increased gut permeability, IBS, leaky gut, or if you have what's called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is a fancy word for saying more bad bacteria than good bacteria. It's not balanced, it's dysbiosis. So for me, when people aren't going to the bathroom regularly, that's when I have to ask the questions. Well, how much water are you drinking? Do you need to have coffee to go to the bathroom? Are you taking a laxative on a regular basis? When you eat food, do you get reflux, heartburn? Are you one of those people drinking that, what's that pink drink, Pepsi Pro or something, or they're popping Galveston like nobody's business. Also, what can happen quite often with females, and I get people sending me pictures all the time, I just had this food and I look like I've had a food baby, that below their belly button swells out massively. And that can also be huge indicators of what's called SBIO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, or SIBO for short. And that's a situation where your food is trying to digest itself in the small intestine, but unfortunately there's some negative bacteria there that we need to address. So I know that's a long-winded answer, Drew, but shorts is, if someone isn't going to the bathroom on a regular basis, in my opinion, they need to address that first before they start going necessarily on a low caloric diet, necessarily on a diet or a new excessively hard training regime, because it can actually interfere with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I've said that to many of them before, that if someone comes in and is saying that they're not going to the bathroom, every day or every 3 or 4 days, we don't even look at focusing on fat loss. That's the primary thing. That and kind of sleep to me is like, unless you're sleeping pretty well and going to the bathroom every day, we don't look really anywhere else, because there are two things. Because it's not an issue that I've ever had. It's probably the opposite problem that I have. But speaking to people, and it's like, if you're dragging around days and days of food inside you, energy's going to be poor, but your mood is going to be poor. So just on that, if someone is drinking relatively the correct amount of water, if they think that they're getting enough fiber in there, is there anything else that might be causing them not to be able to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, so thyroid is definitely one that you have to address. So thyroid is something that if you have, let's say, for example, signs of thyroid dysfunction will be loss of the lateral third of the eyebrow, which for a lot of women, they pluck it so that it may not be.
Everyone's checking their eyebrows now.
Yeah. Cold hands, cold feet is a sign. If you're in the shower and your nipples get sore from the water, that's a sign of iodine deficiency, which can be linked to thyroid problems. If it's in your family, if thyroid dysfunction is in your family, definitely it needs to be addressed. One of my pet hates is, I love Irish women. Not that sounded very bad, as in my wife and my daughters and my mother. But Irish women are terrible. They never look after themselves, and they only really start to address themselves when stuff starts falling off them, or they get in a bad way. Unfortunately, fortunately enough, the body tells you there's something going wrong well before you actually have an issue. So if you've got resistant weight loss, if you've got low energy, low mood, low sex drive, poor skin, your hair is thinning out, these are signs that the thyroid is compromised, and it should be addressed before it becomes an issue. There's always going to be an area of dysfunction. There's a great saying, the absence of disease doesn't mean the presence of health. So just because you're not sick doesn't mean you're healthy. Now, not to pick on you guys as a group, but the majority of people that go to see someone like Drew or go to see any trainer are people that may, they don't lose weight easily. 80% of people, it's the Pareto principle. 80% of people, they cut down their calories, they lose weight, and they don't go to a trainer ever. Then there's other people that need a bit more coaching, a bit more support, a bit more motivation, and that already qualifies you guys as a 20% that may need a bit more help. So that's why when Drew was trying to give you different information, rather than just cutting calories and training more, it needs to be a personalized approach. Your plan needs to be specific to you at your time in your life, at your age, at your medical journey, whether you're, you know, pre-menopausal or post-menopausal, if you're menstruating, all these things can impact what you need to do from a nutrition, a sleep, and a digestion point of view. But Drew is correct. Get the gut sorted and get the sleep sorted. And once those two lowest hanging fruits are resolved, the impact of other interventions are huge. I use the analogy of a car. If you're going to go on a big weight loss health journey in your car, there's two things you need to know. One, where you currently are, and two, where you need to get to. So we have a roadmap or a health sat nav. Unfortunately, a lot of people start off their health and weight loss journey when the car is in a bad condition. There's flat tires and no petrol, you know, there's no oil in the car. And then they get frustrated. They get halfway along their journey. They're doing well, and then all of a sudden the body stops responding. Their skin gets very dry, their hair's falling out, their moods are going all over the place, and they keep doing the same thing. Where my approach would be to sit back and say, hang on a second, well, I've cut my calories, I've made certain results, but what else is going on? What other lights are on the dashboard that I can address? Maybe I need to look at my hormones. One of my pet hates is females and red meat. So if a woman has issues, or a man has an issue digesting food, or they're constipated, they tend not to gravitate towards protein, and particularly red meat. So if your stomach is feeling heavy and you're holding food in your body for several days, you're not going to gravitate towards having a big fillet steak. You're just not. And one of my questions is, could you hold the raw steak in your hand? And women make funny noises. No, I couldn't do that. One of the reasons maybe is you may not have the digestive capabilities to break that food down, which is fine. That needs to be addressed in itself. However, we need B12, which you get the majority of absorbable B12 from red meat. Not to say you can't get it from vegetables, I'm not saying that, but it's more bioavailable and in a higher amount in red meat. Next of all, we need iron. Women lose iron every single menstrual cycle. So if you're not consuming iron, you're not making hemoglobin. And a fancy thing, and I don't want to be throwing crazy words at you guys, but hemoglobin carries oxygen around the body. So think of it. Now my wife has this thing, I don't know if you can see that. This is her fire she loves on the television in the bedroom. I'm just oversharing there, guys. I apologize. But in order for you to burn fat in the body, you need two things. You need fat. And let's be honest, we all have a bit of fat in our body that we need to burn. The second thing we need to burn that fat is oxygen. Now, if you're anemic and you don't have enough iron to bring the oxygen to the fat, you will never burn it. So women are walking around and they're anemic. And I say this now because I can categorically tell you every single female I've ever tested in the clinic has markers of anemia. Now, women think that anemia is just iron deficiency. It's not. You can have big cell anemia, which is called macrocytic anemia. You can have small cell anemia, which is microcytic anemia. You can have different color, what's called chromocytic anemia. You can have precocious anemia, which is a B12 anemia. There's a multitude of issues that you can have that cause you to have low energy and resistance to fat loss. And unfortunately, what the most people do, eat less and less. Now, before I get off that topic, we need fat, which we have enough of. We need oxygen, which we need a delivery of that. But we have an enzyme in our body, and this enzyme basically puts the logs onto the fire. It takes fat from the cells and puts it into the furnace to be burned. And that's called carnitine. Carnitine. So I ask you, where do you think you get carnitine from? I'm not saying you have to be on a carnivore diet or a big carnitine, diet plan, but you need to be having either carnitine supplementation or you take meat in on a regular basis, particularly red meat, that allows you to burn that fat. So it's hard just to force feed a meat into a woman. That sounded terrible, but what I needed, you need to be able to improve the digestion to break the meat down. You need to make sure that the exit plan is open and readily in use, and then you can improve the anemia, then you can improve the carnitine, and then you can get the fat loss. I could guarantee the women listening on today's talk, if you addressed your digestion, if it's an issue, if you address your sleep, if it's an issue, and then you went at correcting deficiencies from an iron, from a carnitine point of view, the results you're doing now will massively accelerate, because the body's working that bit better. That's all.
Yeah. And come here, Owen, just like, obviously, how much red meat would you be saying would be adequate to get enough carnitine? Like, would it be every second day? Would it be every day? How much red meat should females be eating?
It's a difficult question, because I don't know the weight of these females. What I would say is a safe recommendation, and red meat in research and red meat in real life is not the same thing. Hot dogs are classified as red meat. So for me, good quality red meat twice a week is plenty. Okay.
And maybe like just for them that are struggling with digestion, obviously a lean steak mince or lean steak burgers might be a better option for digestion instead of a big 8-ounce fillet steak, right?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to introduce when women are starting a diet like this, I like to add in mincemeat. And when I was young, mincemeat was always beef. That's all you ever got was mincemeat, was beef. But now you can get minced lamb, turkey, chicken. You can get any sort of mincemeat you want. When meat is minced, it has more surface area. And the more surface area your meat has, the more capabilities you have from an enzymatic and digestion point of view to absorb it. So I would start off saying maybe like a bolognese would be a good option, with linguine, pasta, however you want to do it. And then maybe a burger, like a homemade burger then later on during the week. But a steak might be very off-putting initially for someone that had digestive issues, or they were compromised from a bowel health point of view. That might be a little bit too stressful for them.
Okay. Just on that, I know anytime I'm having steak now, my digestive wouldn't be amazing, but anytime I'm having steak, I take digestive enzymes with most meals. Does just in the initial period for girls who are struggling with digestion, are digestive enzymes the answer, or are they just putting a plaster over a deep wound?
Okay, so this is the thing. So in your digestive system, you have what we call the pancreas, and the pancreas is what we call the digestive lab. Thanks for Aisling, she turned on and off real fast there. So the pancreas stores our enzymes. So food comes into our body, and food has really 3 categories: proteins, fats, and carbs. And when these foods come in, the pancreas says, okay, well, here's a bit of lipase, and here's a bit of amylase, and here's a bit of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. So it releases the enzymes to break food down. Now, this is what I found really, really interesting. When you go to sleep at night time, the body says, okay, we've been up all day, we have all this debris from all the factories in our body, all the cells have a bit of debris. We clean it all up, and then we dump it out. So what happens is we have trillions of cells in our body. At night time, our body does a little bit of a clean out. It collects all the rubbish, puts it in the wheelie bins, gets it outside, and hopefully we poo it out, wee it out, sweat it out. Then when it's all out, the body starts to regenerate, and the body builds up the enzymes and hormones that it needs for the next day. Unfortunately, so many women have dysfunctional sleep that when they get the chance to make those enzymes, when they get the chance to make those hormones, they're waking out of sleep again. So when they eat the food comes in, and the pancreas is like, well, I got nothing for you, and it makes a little bit on the go, but it can't make it fast enough to look after the food that's come in. So digestive enzymes in no way is a plaster or a crutch. It's a step to help you until you can actually get your digestion, and it won't downregulate. So certain hormones you will take would downregulate other hormones. Digestive enzymes won't do that. So when you taking digestive enzymes, you're just allowing the body to absorb the nutrients. So the nutrients are there. So when you go to sleep yourself, you can make them.
Okay. So is that why, like, if someone struggles with sleep, it's going to affect their digestion? Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have hunger and satisfied hormones, leptin and ghrelin in a body. And when people wake up in the morning and they're not hungry, if you're not hungry in the morning, that is a sign that you haven't recycled your hormones, you haven't come out of sleep at the right wave. You should be hungry in the morning. And those people going on intermittent fasting, and I'm not going to get on that soapbox just yet, but I will later on, because I had a heated debate earlier on today with a female. But when it comes to, I was going to say something there. Yes, apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is a very unique and cheap and easy supplement to take to help digestion. So inside your stomach, you have two valves. You have a valve at the top and a valve at the bottom. And what we need is we need the pH of our stomach to be between 1 and 3. Now, the higher the pH in our stomach, the less acidic it is. The lower the pH, the more acidic it is. Now, when our stomach is at a pH of 1 to 3, those two valves close. So we close the doors. If your pH is high, i.e. it's not acidic, they don't close that well, and people can get reflux. So up to 70% of people that have reflux actually have low stomach acid. It's hypochlorhydria. So what I would suggest to those people is, if you think you're one of those people, take apple cider vinegar, and what that will do is that will bring down the pH, bring up the acidity, and put the enzymes in their powerful position. Enzymes need an acidic environment to do their job. Actually, they have these jellies. Have you seen the apple cider vinegar jellies?
I've yeah, I actually only seen them the other day, actually, yeah.
I think they're called Goalie, but you can look them up. It's the red container that they're apple cider vinegar jelly. So if you don't like to swig the apple cider vinegar before your meal, it's a great way of adding it in to help you digest food. And there's lots of other benefits of apple cider vinegar besides digestion. So definitely a little cheap.
Because I know even from myself from taking apple cider vinegar, and it's kind of like everything. If something really tastes awful, or you really, really hate doing something, yes, you might do it for a certain period of time, but then over time, then you're like, oh, I couldn't be asked. But something like, you can get the capsules as well, can't you? You can get, So, you know, because I know, speaking to a lot of people, they're like, oh, I've tried it, it's just disgusting. Or sometimes can that increase heartburn and stuff, you know, with the apple cider vinegar? Can it cause heartburn, or?
It shouldn't. If it causes heartburn, you've got super, super, super low stomach acid.
Okay, right. So low stomach acid. Okay, okay. Well, just the last kind of thing on digestion there. I know a couple of the girls online here suffer with IBS. What, like, for some of the girls that maybe don't know if they kind of have it, what is IBS?
So technically, IBS, if you just take the I out of it, you know what it is. It's BS. It's absolute horseshit. There's no such thing as BS. So IBS, and the issue is that it's a non-diagnosable, you know, prognosis for people. It doesn't give you any insight. So to break it down for you, what it could be categorized is, and there's 4 different types. So you have IBS-C, which is IBS constipated, IBS-D, which is diarrhea. Then you have 2 form of mixed types that go between them. Now, inside your gut, if you can imagine, your gut is the size of a tennis court. That's the surface area of your gut. And what they have is the cells are stuck together. And I like to think of them like 2 Bart Simpsons stuck together with spiky hair. And these little projections on the top of the cells, that's what absorb the food. They go in between the actual villi. What you don't want to do is you don't want them to come between Bart Simpsons. You want them to go in between the cells so we can break it down and it comes into our body. When you've got leaky gut or IBS, you have what's called increased gut permeability. You've got separation of the tight junctions that keep your cells together. The cells in your gut are what we call enterocytes. That's the name they have. They turn over every 3 to 7 days. So they're one of the fastest turning over cells in the body. If they're compromised and you're letting a lot of big food molecules come in, or you're letting a lot of food come in with bacteria in it, that's causing the body to be constantly inflamed. And then not only do you have bloating and wind and constipation and diarrhea, you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. Why? Because your immune system is always on high alert because food is coming into the gut. Now, the issue that it could be that you're reacting to food. It could definitely be food allergies, for sure. It could be bad bacteria in there. Eating poor quality, foods with the trans fats and, processed can definitely interfere with it. Sugar is a real big irritant to the gut. So too is gluten. There's a protein that keeps these two walls together. It's called zonulin. And in the presence of gluten, this is irrelevant. This is irregardless of whether you've got celiac disease, they open a little bit. So in the presence of gluten, your gut opens up a little bit. And for women that have IBS, they may have been doing constant triggers or are living a life that's been irritating to the gut. And once we cause inflammation in the gut, it's very hard to calm it down if you're still consuming the same food, if you're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis, and if you're maybe genetically predisposed to having digestive issues. One of the things that I found challenging when dealing with females with digestive issues, there's two parts of your autonomic nervous system, your fight and flight and your rest and digest. When people are under stress on a regular basis, the blood flow goes away from the digestive system, goes towards the nervous system, the muscular system, and the brain, and so on. And then while the digestive system isn't getting the correct blood flow, that's when it can become dysfunctional. It can become what's called hypoxic, or lack of oxygen to the area. And then when you go to eat food again, all of a sudden it goes, what's going on here? You haven't looked after me. And then the food comes in, it doesn't digest well. That's why I'm a big fan of people sitting down, having their meals, being a bit in the moment, having mindfulness when they have their food, rather than just scoffing the food in as fast as they can. But I know that's a long-winded answer. For IBS, it's the challenge. But what I would say is it's not an easy fix. And what I'll do is I'm going to give you quick and easy for the guys out there, because I know it's a big challenge for them. So the 5-step approach to improving someone's IBS is: 1, you remove any food that you think may be problematic for that client. So 1, we remove. 2, we replace. And what do we replace? We replace with digestive enzymes, or in this situation, it could be apple cider vinegar. Number 3 is what we call rebuilding. So these Bart Simpsons in the gut, they really like a certain fertilizer. I like to think of it like weed and seed. You need to weed the garden before you seed the garden. But if you put a bit of fertilizer into that gut, those cells that turn over every 3 to 7 days will really use that fertilizer. And the fertilizer is glutamine. Glutamine is very powerful for rebuilding the gut. The next thing we do is we want to make sure that the bacteria in the gut is of good quality bacteria. So the 4th one there is we re-inoculate. We re-inoculate with probiotics to get them back into the gut. And the last 5 is we reintroduce. We try and challenge the food that caused the problem at the start, and we see if we can reintroduce it again. It may still cause symptoms. If it does, we take it back out again. So slowly,
I'm just trying to spell re-inoculate here. I'm taking that. Owen has some serious big words. Re-inoculate is so. Yeah, just on that, probiotics. I speak to people, and most people are taking probiotics. And I only walked by the health store in the pavilion yesterday, and there's a big poster of the Super 8 probiotics. Just because a lot of people are taking them. Some, obviously the majority of people do need to take them, but just give us a bit of information on, should people be taking probiotics, and obviously what kind of ones, and for how long? Because everyone, I think, is taking them at some stage. Do they have to take them for like a long period of time or so on?
So probiotics come in what's called a colony forming units. So it's not that important, but the amount of probiotics in it. So for example, any probiotic that isn't above 15 billion, you shouldn't go near it. So people say to me, oh, I'm having my Yakuts and my Actimels and my yogurt. These guys have a few thousand in them. No, I'm not interested in that. I want billions. So 15 billion is around a minimum dose. Second thing is, I call it a license plate. So when you look at a probiotic label, it should say lactobacillus, blah, 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 152. It should say Bifidobacterium N11 351. Every bacteria that has a number at the end of it has been shown in research to be effective. If you just get a probiotic that says lactobacillus and there's no number after it, leave it back on the counter. Don't take it.
Okay.
Next thing is probiotics used to be told to be taken at nighttime. Why? They've been shown to be more effective after the whole day of eating rather than first thing in the morning. That's not true anymore. You can take probiotics anytime because they have enteric coating to allow them to get down to the gut.
Okay.
However, they shouldn't be taken on a regular basis. Probiotics are like seeds. If you want to grow the grass in your backyard, you don't throw seeds down every single day. You throw the seeds down, you grow, you see what grows, you see what patches, you might put some more down. So they're taken in cyclically through the year. However, if you have ever taken antibiotics, or you've particularly for kids, kids and probiotics, I'm a big fan. If they've taken antibiotics, there's straws you can get. But the bacteria after antibiotics, the bacteria in your gut is compromised for 12 months. 12 months after one course of antibiotics, unless you take a probiotic to rebuild that. I used to use the analogy of Brookside Close. You're old enough to remember.
I used to love Brookside.
There you go. Alex. But the fact is, you have neighbours in Brookside Close. Good neighbours and bad neighbours. Some get buried under the patio. Some live. You know, it depends.
Trevor Jordash.
So what happens with probiotics is probiotics like to live in a healthy, happy place.
Yeah.
But if your gut is full of sugar, if your gut is full of leakiness, if your gut has a lot of shit in it because it hasn't moved along, that probiotic is like, I'm not staying here. I don't want to stay here. So for me, that's why the reinoculation or adding in the bacteria is the fourth step. So we've removed, we've replaced, we've rebuilt, then we've reinoculated number 4. So when we've made the neighborhood nice, when we got rid of all the alcoholics and got rid of all the waste, that's when we add in the probiotics, only then. Okay. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best benefit from it. Also, a sign that somebody might have dysbiotic symptoms, one will be white stuff on their tongue in the morning. If a female was having thrush or any yeast issues or any fungal infections in their toes, that's a real solid definition that there's some sort of dysbiotic issue going on. If they get bloating underneath their belly button after certain foods, I don't mean a little bit of bloating, I mean like, Jesus, I'm pregnant and I just had a pizza. That is another sign that there's dysbiotic issues going on.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions on digestive issues with red meat and the fuel supplements. Okay. No, I think that's a lot of the digestive kind of the digestion issues. Okay, so there's a few on the line. I'm not going to say the age. The menopause.
Yeah.
If anyone is going through it or is on the other side of it, is there any kind of considerations when it comes to nutrition, exercise, or kind of supplementation?
100%. We've had countless clients go through menopause. I have loads of clients that are trainers that come to me to help them with their menopausal women. So first of all, it can happen. It can happen at a very, I've had women have hysterectomies and all sorts of very young ages. So it's a big hormonal transition. And the healthier somebody is going into this transition, the better the outcome is going to be. So the first thing I would do is gut health is crucial, is fundamental. And the reason why I say it is hormones have a certain lifespan in your body. They have a certain half-life, which means they do their job, they've done their job, and then they go out with the body. So, for example, estrogen has its job, it does its job in the body, then it goes to the liver packages it up, brings it down to the boil, and then we get rid of it. But if a woman doesn't have regular bowel movements, she can recycle her hormones again and again, and that can cause a lot of lower body fatness and resistance to weight loss in the lower part of the body. But to make this answer short for you, when you have ovarian failure and your ovaries are shutting down, the best approach will be to support the adrenal glands. So the best supplement you can take to support the adrenal glands is one, it's not a supplement, it's blood sugar control. Second thing is stress control. Third thing is sleep. And if I was going to add a supplement in, it would be vitamin C. Vitamin C is very restorative to the adrenal glands. So we manage sugar, we manage stress, we improve sleep, and then we may add in some vitamin C. Next of all, vitamin E is the vitamin of the ovaries. It's been shown time and time again that vitamin E, and the number should be 400 international units. So 400 international units of vitamin E is phenomenal for women going through menopausal symptoms. It can calm them down quite a lot. Now, next thing to do is you probably women have heard of evening primrose oil and borage oil and so on. Yes, they have been shown to be somewhat effective if women are deficient, but what has been shown is a blend. You can either buy a tub of EPA and DHA, then do one of GLA, then do one of borage oil, then do one of evening primrose. For me, I like to just give people a blend that has them all in it, and they take that on a regular basis. It has been very, very, very effective.
Okay.
Also, melatonin, which technically is a hormone, but it's a supplement in most countries, is very beneficial to help sleep and help with night sweats. So the better your adrenals are working, the better you're going to the bathroom, the better you can manage your phospholipids or your omega intake. I've had loads of women go through it. I wouldn't say asymptomatic, because there's definitely some symptoms, but nowhere near as bad as their mother or their sisters or their friends have gone through it.
Okay. So like, you know, that obviously taking the supplements, managing blood sugar, managing stress, training wise, should they be looking at trying to like pulling back on something, or just, you know,
no,
go
you
with
know
the flow?
And this is the thing, like, I work with this organization when it comes to anti-aging medicine, and they're always saying, oh, what's the best diet for anti-aging? Well, to be honest with you, if you want to slow down aging and help yourself through menopause, start now. Don't wait till you get menopausal symptoms. But resistance training and interval training has been very effective for the management of hormonal stress, and particularly menopause. And the reason being is, if I stress you out, Drew, and then stop stressing you out, then I stress you out, and then I stop again, that on-off stress it enhances your body's ability to manage stressful situations. So your adrenaline goes up and down, and cortisol up and down, and testosterone and so on. But one thing that's been shown to be detrimental to hormones and also aging and oxidative stress is long aerobic exercise. You think about like rust. The more you're out doing aerobic exercise, the more reactive oxygen species, the more salt you're putting on the car, the more water and salt you're putting on the body, the more you're eroding it. And that's when collagen goes down in the skin. That's when women lose a lot of muscle mass. And this is across the board. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to try and say it in a way that's not confusing. The longer you hold on to muscle mass, the younger you will be. And muscle mass has been the strongest indicator to healthy aging on the planet. That's what men and women. I'm not saying you have to be jacked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but as you get older, to maintain your muscle mass means, one, you're sleeping, two, you're eating enough food, you're digesting it, and then your immune system is strong enough to hold on to that muscle mass. I used to use the analogy when people die of AIDS, God help them. One of the things is their immune system goes so low, their body wastes away. When anybody gets sick, their muscle mass wastes away. So anything you can do from an interval training point of view, from a resistance training point of view, increases your muscle, your bone density, your ligament strength, your posture, which means as you get older, your body's going to wear and tear less because it's more robust, more resilient, has higher collagen, higher elasticity in the skin, better protein turnover, better absorption. It's the people that don't move, and when they do move, they do a lot of aerobic exercise, they're wearing the body down.
So, yeah, that's what I say it like that. The last thing that you need to be doing is going out for big long jogs all the time. I'm not against people jogging, it's great for the head, I think. But if you've got 3 hours of the week, 3 hours of resistance training is a hell of a lot better than 3 hours of going for a 10K run, isn't it?
Well, that's it. So just last week, or was it this week, I put a video up on a program I have called ISO intervals. So you do isometrics and then do a bit of intervals. Isometrics and intervals. It's much better than long, steady state running. I live quite close to the Clontarf seafront, and I see people running all the time. And Drew, the ankles and knees and lower back and posture, and particularly women with bigger boobs, their posture is all, like, it just wears the body down. It's like if you were driving to feckin' Derry in your car and one of your wheels was off a little bit, the steering wheel will be shaking the whole way. But people aren't aligned enough. They're not strong and stable enough. Now, one long run a week is no problem.
Yeah.
But on the road to weight loss, that erosion, that oxidative stress can really wear on the body. I once did a presentation in the Artane gym a good few years ago. Could be 12 or 15 years ago. And I said look, aerobic exercise has been shown to be deleterious to aging, wears women down. And this woman got up and stood up and walked out. And I went to see her after the seminar and said, I didn't mean to offend you. And women out there running, by all means, enjoy your run. But if it's done too often, it's done for too long, it does wear the body down. So there's other forms of exercise you can do. And if you're doing it for the headspace and the mindfulness, yes, for sure, continue it, but maybe switch it up with maybe some saunas or sea swims or cycling or something that's not as damaging to the body.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay, so there's a couple of girls that have recently had babies and stuff. And so, like, what's the considerations for girls exercise-wise and kind of hormonally getting back to exercising after having babies couple of months ago, let's say?
Okay, so first thing you need to find out is, one, if it was a C-section baby or not.
Yeah.
So that will prolong the time before they can get back to exercise. Second thing you need to find out, was there any complications, any issues around the birth? And the third thing you need to find out was if she's breastfeeding. Because you don't want to be integrating supplements or dietary changes when that's going on. So for me, and again, Irish women, I love them, but I hate them sometimes. The first thing they do is they cut their food down because they want to get back into pre-baby shape. And what I would say is, women that have had babies, mothers, you've made a baby. You didn't have a baby, you made a baby. And I'm going to labor that point, because and I don't mean to use this as a negative term, but a baby, and I've got 3 kids, a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 7-year-old. I know how much they drain you, but they're like parasites. And I mean that because when a baby has been born, and a woman is pregnant, all the nutrients go towards the baby. Mammy is not important. Mammy's second in the priority list. So the baby's number one. Now, if you are full of nutrients and full of health and well-being, that's brilliant that your reserve is higher than somebody else, but you're still at a huge deficit. So for me, it's about the correct macronutrient intake and the right vitamin and mineral support, particularly fats. So fish oil is very important for women that are postnatal. B vitamins are fundamental. My wife, she's not, I'm not speaking out of school here. She talked to her openly. After our last child, she went through quite a lot of postnatal anxiety and postnatal depression. And that's much higher for women that have had C-sections. And one of the reasons why is that you're pregnant, you're not pregnant. It's like that. The baby's put out of you. When you go through natural birth, there's a whole contraction and the whole situation that goes on with that. So it's very different. But hormonally, metabolically, psychologically, I'd be much more focused on supporting the right nutrition, the right training, the right sleep. Sleep is going to be, as we all know, it's a nightmare during that time. Training isn't the be all and end all. It really isn't. If you were to train 5 days a week, it only represents 2.9% of the week. So for me, for the first 6 months postnatal, I'm looking at optimizing sleep when they can. Looking at getting the good macronutrients. All food is real food. Getting fish oil in and getting a multivitamin in. Initially, particularly, I would probably add in magnesium as well, just to help with the body rebuild. And resistance training is fundamental. Why I like resistance training is it can be much more controlled. I might do much more machines with them, Drew, much more, rather than free weights, much more machines. I would do isometrics, because what that does is weight training boosts growth hormone and collagen and enhances elasticity, so it'll tighten the body up much faster. But we've had tons of females train nearly right up to giving birth, and the fitter and stronger you are beforehand, the more you'll bounce back. However, what I would say is, if there is any pelvic floor issues, I do have a few physios that I recommend people go to. That may not be something that a female is used to addressing or talking to with a trainer about, but it's essentially to have the conversation, because the best time to rectify it and improve it is directly after, within a certain time frame. So that's not an issue when they're out running and doing burpees and stuff like that.
Burpees. I get okay. So we touched on kind of thyroid at the start there. is there a certain age when the thyroid starts to dip down, or can it happen at any time?
It can happen at any time. So there's a few things that can accelerate thyroid dysfunction. Number one is yo-yo dieting. So going up and down on a diet, high calorie, low calorie, bulimia and anorexia, they can all interfere with or accelerate or dramatize more a thyroid issue. Also, pregnancy can also, people can develop thyroid problems after pregnancy. Most of the time, it's down to genetics, whether it be an autoimmune issue, the body is actually attacking it. You see an enlarged goiter, and it's in the family history. But it's something, and I don't know if, from talking to other coaches and nutritionists and doctors, I don't think it's exclusive to Ireland. People only address it when it's a severe issue. There's an antibody called TPO, thyroid peroxidase, and what it does is it can attack your thyroid, and when it attacks your thyroid makes more for a long time, and then it goes boom, and then it makes none. Then people can get nodules and lobes. They have to get the thyroid removed. But I sent a client recently to a doctor in Wexford, and the doctor said, your antibodies are elevated, your thyroid is elevated, but it's not a problem yet. That's not a solution. That's just saying there's smoke coming from the engine, but keep driving until your car stops. But constantly getting these things checked is what I would recommend for most females. Like Drew, you know this better than anybody. When you're working hard and you're training hard, and you're investing in your training and your gym membership and your supplements, getting a blood test done once or twice a year is pittance in comparison, and what it can do from a mental health point of view. I had a client, he's from Sweden, and he's a tennis academy, and he has these young kids that have got a lot of mental health issues, and they're not doing well with anxiety, and the tennis doctor wants to put them on antidepressants straight away without any blood work, without any counseling, without any support. Wow. So I think sometimes if all you have is a pill, that's going to fix everything. But not to poo-poo doctors in any way, shape, or form. They do an amazing job, and they've got a very challenging time. But when it comes to optimizing your own health, please, it's in your control. Don't wait till it becomes an issue and then it's in your doctor's control. You can identify areas in your health and your well-being that needs to be addressed, and you take ownership for it. I'm not speaking to telling people. I'm just saying.
So you said earlier, that a couple of signs of thyroid is the lateral third of the eyebrow. How else would someone recognize or know? Obviously, without going to get blood, obviously that's obviously the ideal thing to do. But what's the other signs of thyroid dysfunction?
First of all, there's fancy names on it. You've probably heard of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. You've heard of Graves' disease. You've heard of hyperthyroid. So we classify them all as in some sort of thyroid issue or dysfunction. Irregular menstrual cycle is something that is very common with women that have thyroid dysfunction, whether it be a short cycle, a longer cycle, a short cycle, a longer cycle. It tends to be shorter cycle hyperthyroid, longer cycle hypo, but it doesn't always work out that way. Next of all is loss of the lateral third of the eyebrow is strongly related. Now, these are not definitive diagnoses. They're just trends and physical examinations that are linked to it. Next of all, cold hands and cold feet is a strong indicator of circulation impairment, and it could be addressed by thyroid issues. An enlargement in the neck is a strong indicator. Your doctor will generally palpate that area and assess whether there's any lobes in your thyroid. Dry skin, brittle nails, and poor quality hair are all bundled together in the thyroid issue. Also, constipation and diarrhea are linked in there too.
Okay.
One thing I would say, that's not addressed, and it can be very traumatic for both males and females. Reoccurring miscarriages, and the inability to become pregnant can strongly be related to a thyroid dysfunction. So it's definitely something that I would rule out. If a woman and a partner in a relationship have gone through that loss, it's important to get that addressed or ruled out anyway.
Okay, that actually brings us in nicely to on the menstrual cycle. So obviously some girls get a hell of a lot worse than some. What's the kind of the biggest considerations, and what should the girls be doing on that week, or should they be looking at doing something the previous week leading up to it, as in training, food, supplementation, you know, with training, obviously not push themselves as hard and stuff, but is there anything that they should look at with their diet on that week, or supplementation, etc.?
Okay, so this is a minefield here, Drew.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
you're digging a big hole for me here. So what I'll say, first of all, menstrual. So if a woman is on the pill and she has a bleed every month, that's not a period, that's a withdrawal bleed. So that's not a real menstrual cycle. Second of all, there's a lot of issues. My big question to a lot of females, if they're on the contraceptive pill, are they on the pill for contraceptive reasons, or were they on it for a skin issue, which is it's a large prescription of why a lot of females in Ireland get the pill. Next of all, if a woman has painful periods or killer cramps and they've been given the pill to stop the symptoms, that's actually an early warning sign of endometriosis. So I would suggest that gets addressed rather than just giving a female a pill. So when it comes to training, there doesn't necessarily have to be any more, like what they would say is more volume for the first 14 days of a cycle, less volume for the second 14 days. But that's very person specific.
Yeah, I get you.
What I would say is, obviously, if someone is having their period and and one of the things I ask women all the time, like, and I don't want to be talking about this too much, but like, what's your normal period? How many days? How many tampons? How heavy is the flow, and so on. Women don't want to tell you, but like, I've got women that might have a period for 7 days. And it can be extremely heavy. And then I have a few females that have very short cycles. So they have a week of a cycle, and then in 18 to 22 days, they're going again.
Yeah.
So it depends. It could be even shorter for some females. So once they don't feel uncomfortable, once they're, like, again, if they have breast tenderness, that can be an issue with certain training, lying down and pressing on machines and so on. So what I would say is it's very person specific. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily change the training. My approach would be is during the time women may crave more salt things and may crave more sugar stuff. What I would say is magnesium is a very good thing to increase during the menstrual cycle. Also, dark chocolate is something that I would increase. I have a female client at the moment. She's down in Monasterevin, and we're talking about, she says, "Oh, I'm really good Monday to Friday." And then I sit down, I'm like, "Hey, I'm eating all around myself." Yeah. And what I said to her, I said, "Listen, just have 2 pieces of dark chocolate." And she's 8 weeks now post pregnancy. She every night I let her have 2 squares of dark chocolate. So then it's not this big, oh, it's Saturday, it's Sunday, I'm going to gorge myself. So if you're craving food, have a bit of dark chocolate, maybe a bit of magnesium, watch it, because what can happen is if you gorge yourself around that time, it can really stagnate your weight loss goals. If you're clean for a whole month and then around your cycle, you have 4 or 5 bad days, it can really be detrimental to your results moving forward. So the ideal plan is to come up with a method, whether it be, the dark chocolate, maybe be, more saunas, whatever it may be, to help you relax during that period of time, more walks, whatever it is to help you, manage that stress. But if you've got a lot of symptoms, that needs to be addressed.
Should, obviously during that period they lose a lot of iron, should they be eating more red meat or increasing their iron supplement during that period, or does that actually matter?
No, it doesn't really matter. So this is the thing. Taking iron supplementation will constipate women anyway. So I don't do that. So what I would say is your red blood cells have a life of 90 to 120 days inside your body. So it's the overall consumption over the whole month, not necessarily around that time frame. Okay. Right. So the jumping up and down exercise, I would worry about. I would control the nutrition so they're managing it. Get enough sleep. Also stay hydrated. And there's not peaks and troughs with blood sugar is important. Yeah. Also, just on that, PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome is really common in Ireland, and indications of that could be darker hair on your arm or increased hair growth, mood swings, irritability, painful cramps. Obviously, cysts are involved in it, but not always. And for me, controlling blood sugar is a really effective approach to managing PCOS. So for females out there that maybe think they're suffering from that, getting a good handle of your blood sugar control and carbohydrate intake can have massive impact. Yeah.
Okay. Right. We'll finish off with, so obviously, when it comes to fat loss, obviously we kind of look at you need to be burning more calories than you're consuming. But if someone is in a calorie deficit, and like I say to my girls now, I need to know exactly if you are in a calorie deficit, because there's no point in telling me, oh no, I'm only eating 13 or 1400 calories or 1600 calories every day, but then you don't track Saturday and Sunday, and I'm racking my brain why you're not losing weight and you've consumed 2,000 or 3,000 calories. So I always say to them, you need to be as honest as you can with me, so I know. But let's say they are honest, and I know these are, but if someone is in a calorie deficit and they know that they're only consuming 14 or 1500 calories and they're burning 1800 to 2000 calories, and fat loss is either extremely slow or is non-existent, what's really going on there? Like, is it their hormones, or
So some females, and we all know them, the same with guys, Drew. You know that you have those skinny bitches, those girls that just, they drop it, they stop eating a certain amount of food and weight falls off them. And the same, and there's always those other women that look at a croissant and they put weight on.
Yeah.
Caloric intake is definitely a massively strong driving force, but genetically, we are all more efficient or less efficient at burning certain calories and certain types of macronutrients. So in my humble opinion, I honestly find females are not efficient fat burners. The majority of females, it needs to get a good spike and a good momentum going before they get there. So initially what you can have is you can have people lose weight relatively fast. Unless you're tracking where that weight is coming from, you don't know. And then you have these peaks and troughs and plateaus. But stuff like carnitine, stuff like magnesium can really help, because it could be an enzymatic issue. It could be that inability of that body to get the fat in there. And then what will happen, Drew, is the body will actually tell the thyroid, listen, I'm not able to burn any more fat. Let's slow things down. Let's be more economical with their food. I've got clients that have come to see me that did figure competitions, and they're on 800, 1,000 calories a day and still not losing weight. And why? The body has brought all their metabolism down because they're in a stress response. So if that's a situation, what I say to people is, if you're in a calorie deficit and you've been good and the weight isn't coming off, well, where can we change things up? Could we try a little bit of, increased activity the weekend? Could we increase the walks after a meal? One thing that's extremely effective is if you do have a big meal, or any meal for that matter, a 20-minute walk after that meal is amazingly impactful at bringing blood sugar down and getting you into a fat burning zone. It's shown to be as effective as metformin, which is an anti-diabetic drug. But a 20-minute walk after each meal can really burn off any circulating sugars. So what I would say is, if people are on a calorie deficit and it isn't working, let's go back to the drawing board. What can we do to get you over this hump? Because it might be only a week or 2 weeks of doing something different, and we can go back to that program again and it will work for us. It maybe just mean a certain part of their engine, maybe hormonally, maybe nutritionally, maybe sleep is an issue. And maybe it could be during that week that they slept shitty, Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Right. I'm just going to finish with, so if you were to recommend, now obviously this can vary a little bit, but the basic top 3 supplements, because anytime I kind of speak to girls as well, if I say to them, right, I'd like you to take X, Y, and Z, they're like, oh, well, I'm taking like a multivitamin. Does that not cover everything? And I say, well, most females are low in vitamin B. Everybody at the moment should be obviously taking vitamin D. But what's the kind of top, which it could be a hard answer to answer, or could be a hard question to answer. What's the top 3 supplements that the majority of females should be taking?
Okay, so I'm going to answer you this, and I'm going to, if I can just split it into 2. If a female is on the contraceptive pill, in order for the contraceptive pill to be processed through the body, it depletes CoQ10 and depletes B vitamins. So if a woman is on the contraceptive pill, I urge them to be taking a B vitamin. Yeah. Every neurotransmitter, every brain hormone, serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, all these fancy words for brain hormones, they all need B6. They all need B6, every single one of them. And if people are deficient in that, I was going to make a joke about crazy women. I won't. But the fact that if they're deficient in any of those vitamins, it can really impact you burning fat. And think about the fire. The bees help you burn your fat. They help what's called the Krebs cycle. It's not important, but it's a fire in the body. Also, CoQ10 is the number one anti-aging supplement on the planet. Let me say that again. CoQ10 is the number one anti-aging supplement on the planet. That's why it's in shampoo and face cream and all sorts of stuff. It too is depleted from taking the pill. So those two supplements, I don't see those as a supplement. I see them as a counteracting medication that someone is taking.
Yeah.
Next thing is vitamin D. Obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, is essential. Next is fish oil. Fish oil has been shown to help every known disease on the planet. Every cell in your body has what's called a phospholipid membrane. It has oil around it. Every cell has oil around it. And how they communicate things into the cell and outside the cell all depends on the oil around your cell. And if that's filled of poor quality fats over your lifetime of consumption, it's going to interfere with stuff going into the cell and out of the cell. So a fish oil is again, will be a second thing. Vitamin D, fish oil, and the last one there, particularly for women, is magnesium. Magnesium is a cofactor for so many enzymatic functions in the body. If you're having twitches or cramps, also deficiency in magnesium will slow you down going to the bathroom. It'll make a huge improvement. So B vitamin, CoQ10.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, a B vitamin jelly will just come in one capsule. CoQ10, you're looking for around 150 milligrams. When it comes to fish oil, and this is my Holland and Barrett soapbox, I'll make this nice and short.
I was waiting for this.
Fish oil should have at least 70%, if not 75%, of active fish oil, which is called EPA and DHA. If you get a gram, which is 1,000 milligrams of Holland and Barrett, only around 180 milligrams, which is 18% of that fish oil, is actual active fish oil. If you get it from a pharmaceutical brand, it should be 75% minimum, which is 750 milligrams of actual oil. So for most women, I recommend at least 2 active grams, which may be 2 or 3 capsules, depending on the brand. Okay. Magnesium for women, particularly during their menstrual cycle, I would give them 1.5 grams. Normally, just give them 1 gram. The more you sweat, the more you lose magnesium. The more carbohydrates you eat, the more magnesium you eat. Also, if you're having headaches or cramps or twitches or spasms or breast tenderness, magnesium is a wonder supplement. Also helps massively in sleep.
Sleep is a huge one, yeah. So it's because anytime I speak to people about magnesium, that's kind of the first that they say is that, oh, isn't it great for sleep? Yes, it does, but you have to go through it and, you know, a lot more than why everybody should be taking magnesium. And just to kind of finish on that, like with the quality of supplements, obviously we've got Holland and Barrett will be kind of like as the cheapest for, well, I see fish oils and vitamin D and Aldi and Lidl and stuff for even cheaper. But where, like, say with a fish oil, they can go from like €5 to €50 or probably even higher. You know, should people be going to the top brand, or can you go kind of in the middle ground?
Well, this is the thing. Yeah. If we went for, hopefully me, you and Jen, we can go for dinner at some point, and the menu comes over, Drew, and you look at the wine list. What wine are you picking for us? The top one or the bottom one? What do you're picking one in the middle, aren't you? Whichever one you like.
Well, sometimes I'll go for the top one, especially when you're there.
All right, good man. A bit of something nice. No, what I would say is, this is the thing. Holland and Barrett isn't a supplement store. So stop going there. Just stop going. If you want nuts and toothpaste, go for them. But they don't sell, like.
Is the toothpaste good?
What?
Is their toothpaste good?
Yeah, Allodent. Allodent is a fluoride-free toothpaste. Fluoride has a real negative impact on iodine and your thyroid. So people drinking tap water and brushing their teeth with fluoride toothpaste really down-regulate their thyroid function. Don't get me going, Drew. Don't get me going here. Yeah. Wrap it up. So online is where to go for supplement. And this is the thing. You get a good multivitamin that lasts you a month for €30. €30 a day, you know?
Yeah, I know.
A fish oil, a good fish oil, again, it might be €45, 45, last you a month, 2 months. Yeah. So like, these are very small investments. And a friend of mine once said, people really think that being healthy is expensive. Try being sick, you know?
No, yeah.
Sick, you know, physios and chiropractors and doctors and lab tests and all these, that's expensive, you know?
Yeah.
Like €120 a month. if even that on supplements could get you, you know, a long way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and again, it's only when you break it down, it's only a couple of euro a day, and you know, everybody, including myself, probably spends €5-6
on a coffee.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's and coffee's obviously good, but it's not improving your health at all. Okay, geez, that wasn't bad for us on. That was 9:07. We said an hour.
I'm good. That's good. I'm good. I'm glad.
Guys, if there's any more questions, I'm just looking in the chat box here. There hasn't any or come in. I think we've covered like a serious amount. I've taken notes. I'm going to stick them up in the group, but I would just like to really, really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to me and to speak to the girls. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. What I'll do, Drew, is this when we wrap up here, we'll download the record. I'll just send it on to you, and you can send it on to the girls that weren't able to make it tonight, or do whatever you want with it, Jim. Yeah, 100%. I'm sure they're all going to send me a nice thank you text after this, and I'll forward them on to you. Owen, top man again. Thank you very much. No problem. Take it
easy, guys.
Easy.
Chat to you later. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.